Why Mark Guehi to Liverpool would be a genius transfer for all parties. We're going to break down how Guehi would fit in at Liverpool, a look at the potential transfer fee itself, and of course a deep dive into the player. Make sure you subscribe and leave your comments down below about Mark Guehi joining Liverpool. I'm going to spoil the party. I think this would be outstanding business. You know, even if Liverpool bid £80 million for Guehi, which isn't going to happen. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Let's just say £80 million. Harry Maguire went to Manchester United for a similar amount years ago, by the way. Guehi's better than Harry Maguire. It would be good business. I'm being completely real. I think he's that good, Guehi. If you can get him for 40, 30 million pounds, big links today with the transfer fee that Liverpool could actually end up paying less than 40 million pounds for him, because Palace have got themselves in a bit of a difficult situation. If Guehi doesn't want to sign a contract, if Guehi maybe wants to play Europa League football, isn't quite guaranteed that. It's not Palace's fault necessarily, and he doesn't want to sign a contract. What can you do? Got 1 year left. They turned down £65 million from Newcastle United last summer. I think Spurs were linked in that summer window as well for a similar amount of money, if not January. They've turned it down. He's helped them win their first ever trophy in their history. And now we're in the summer, before the next summer where you can go. Liverpool could come in and put a decent little bid in, £30 million, one of the best centre-backs in European football. It would be outstanding business. It would be. Even if they bid 60, 70, like I just said, I still think that would be good business based on, I mean, Liverpool got £35 million for Quansah. Liverpool haven't really spent in this department for many years. Joe Gomez has been there for years. Konate's been there for a few years. I think it's an essential part of the squad update as well. But to do it for £30 million, I mean, it's outstanding business. It really, really is. Let's just talk about the player himself. 25 years old. This guy, my first word to describe Mark Guehi would be calm. He's got this kind of slow approach to defending. He never looks like he's rushed. He never looks like he's worried. He's a calm, stable centre-back. Then you look at his qualities. He's got pace. He's got power in the air. He can score a goal from a set piece. He's very good on the ball. I'd give him an 8 out of 10 on the ball. He never looks like he's losing the ball. Never looks hurried. He's a Rolls Royce of a centre-back. And then you look at what he's done as a footballer. He was a part of a back three that obviously got Crystal Palace over the line, winning their first ever trophy. That can't be understated. And he was an icon in that back line, alongside Lacroix, who's absolutely sensational as well as a centre-back. He was huge. And then you talk about England. You talk about finals. England don't get to finals. 1966, 2021, 2024. Obviously lost to Spain. But Mark Guehi was a huge, huge part of that setup. So to get England to a final when that was his first major tournament for England as well, it says a lot about his leadership. It says a lot about how he takes opportunities and he's growing ever more as a footballer. And then you look at his age as well, 25 for a centre-back. You could arguably say he could go for another 10 years and still be a fantastic centre-back for Liverpool. Liverpool need to update this situation in a big, big way. I'm a huge fan of Alisson. I think he could be the best keeper next season in the Premier League. I'm a huge fan of Van Dijk. Very, very similar. I think he's the best centre-back in world football. There's no justifiable reason for me to say that's going to change. But you look around that situation, that kind of nucleus of defenders. Konate has a few injury concerns. I rate Konate as high as Gabriel, as Saliba, not quite Ruben Diaz, but in and around that Akanji kind of Gvardiol centre-back kind of level of quality. He's got a few injury concerns, and they're big links to Real Madrid as well. That obviously is a testament to how good Konate is. But you need someone in and around Konate. It can't just be Van Dijk, Konate. Quansah's gone to Leverkusen. And by the way, you could use the money for Quansah straight into Mark Guehi, throw in an extra 10 million quid, throw in a Harvey Elliott or Darwin Núñez, and you could basically make a profit in the defender situation. You think about Joe Gomez, lots of injuries. I'm a huge fan of Joe Gomez, but he's at that point in his career where you don't feel like the injuries are going to get any better. Maybe you can manage them and play 30 games a season. I don't think that's likely, and you're playing with luck. It can't be Van Dijk and Gomez next season with Konate. There's just not enough options there. And a small thing I noticed as well, you think about Frimpong as a right wing back for Leverkusen for a large part of his time. Kerkers can certainly play left wing back. There might be a situation where Arne Slot wants to match sides three at the back. And if you have three centre-backs, obviously Mark Guehi's done that. You could have Konate, Guehi and Van Dijk all playing together. That would be a menacing setup with your wing-backs bombing on and creating a lot of overload, with Salah maybe operating in a more of a narrow position, similar to Florian Wirtz as well. That could be an interesting setup, particularly if Liverpool don't want to actually bid for Isak. Isak doesn't quite happen. You could push extra players forward in the wing-back departments and have Wirtz, Ekitike, Salah as a kind of front three in a 3-4-3 system. That's speculative. I think you're always going to do well if you play 4-3-3, particularly with the quality that Liverpool have. And ultimately, you need two centre-backs. Van Dijk, anything that happens to Konate, it's looking a little bit light. Guehi can come in, not only complement Van Dijk, not only be as good as Van Dijk in the next few years, but ultimately replace Van Dijk. You have to talk about players that are going to come in and replace someone in their 30s. We don't know about Van Dijk next season. I think if he stays fit, he'll be the best centre-back in world football. If he has any injury concerns, which can happen to anyone over the age of 30, if you get unlucky, of course it can. Guehi comes in, 25. He could dominate that Liverpool backline by himself, let alone Van Dijk. And that would make it one of the best defensive partnerships in European football. Van Dijk and Guehi. Behave. It would be outstanding business. It really, really would. Liverpool are linked to some other centre-backs, a Parma centre-back in Giovanni Leone, a link to a Wolfsburg centre-back as well, Kyriakis. I butchered his name. I apologise. These are highly rated young centre-backs. They might even be a little bit cheaper than Mark Guehi, a little bit easier to handle versus going to a Premier League rival in Crystal Palace. But ultimately, don't mess around with this situation. There's too many players coming into Liverpool, in my opinion. You think about Frimpong, never played in the Premier League. You think about Wirtz, Ekitike, never played in the Premier League. You don't want another centre-back coming in who's never played in the Premier League. You don't quite know what's going to happen in that situation. If you can afford it, it's not like you're bidding £100 million for Guehi. If you can bid £40 million for Guehi, £35 million for Guehi, just do that. And maybe you can still afford Leone as well. I think FSG are in a position where they could get a couple of centre-backs. So we keep talking about Isak. We keep talking about maybe Rodrigo or other forwards that could be joining Liverpool, and that would be huge. But you can't win a Premier League title without a settled back line. Liverpool had that last season. Trent, I thought, was fantastic. Robertson played a big part, and of course the two centre-backs in terms of Konate and Van Dijk. But anything happens to one of those guys, or Konate pushes for a move this summer, you need depth. You need a little bit more options in the centre-back department. You need 3 or 4 top-level centre-backs. I'd argue Liverpool have only got 2 that are consistently fit, and even then Konate, we're not entirely sure about that. Joe Gomez for me is a great squad option, can play fullback as well. I think you need one more. I think Arne Slot needs a little bit more in the centre-back department. I think if you can get Guehi, he could go right to the top. Guehi, he already is. I mean, again, what he did for England, what he did for Palace, he's one step away from being a world-class centre-back, and you can get him for that kind of price. It would completely bully the market. Liverpool would be going from strength to strength. It would be an outstanding transfer. I'd actually rate it higher than anything they've actually done this summer. Yeah, I'd rate it more than Ekitike. I like Ekitike. I like Florian Wirtz. Guehi's more of a sure thing and better value pound for pound than any of the transfers Liverpool made so far this summer. Maybe Isak would change that if that happened as well. But Guehi, less than £40 million? It's outstanding business if Liverpool can do it. And it looks today increasingly likely that could happen. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave your comments down below. Do you think Guehi would fit at Liverpool? I'll see you very, very soon.